Adani Power is going places. I mean, the way the stock has moved higher, been 20% up, it's quite stunning to say the least. Other than that, today has been an okay day for mid-caps. Very, very mixed trends. You have had some names like a Shriram Transport Finance, look at a Sundaram Finance. Some of these NBFCs have found takers. But then overall, the index is down and the advanced decline is negative. Abhimanyu, very quickly, which NBFC are you convinced of buying?
So, if you look at the NBFC sector, clearly the older NBFCs are likely to do much better. Even, the microfinance side also looks quite interesting to us. So, obviously, from a large cap perspective, it will be a kind of a consensus to look at Bajaj Finance and continue to own that one, because going forward as well, we see that the growth trajectory will continue to be quite robust. In terms of the older NBFCs, we clearly see, some of the companies like Sundaram Finance, who don't have too much of asset liability kind of issues. Those kind of companies to do quite good. In terms of valuation also, they are quite decent. And though despite the export growth will be quite modest, but we believe that, from an asset quality perspective, things are quite good for Sundaram Finance. With regard to the microfinance space, we are quite bullish on companies like Equitas. So as we see the, over next year or so, the hangover of the RBI order on, the separate listing as such, that those concerns going away, we feel that microfinance, the growth will be quite robust, probably around 40% kind of a CAGR growth. And in addition to that, we see that the asset quality issues not being there in the sector. So as these stocks are available at around 1.3 times price to book, those are the kind of stocks that we are quite bullish from next 2-year perspective.
Okay, all right, we are closing down what has been a rather volatile day. Now, Anuj, at the highest point, we're almost taking aim at 10,890. From that level, there's been a good 60-65% cool off. So, how do you sum it up?
I think given the circumstances of the kind of cues that we had from global markets and local markets, I would still say that it was a decent day, Surabhi. The market gave you one dip that was bought and significantly bought. Towards the end, yes, we are looking at right now 51 point down on the Nifty. Intraday, we were down almost 130, 140. So we recovered all of it. Yeah. So I think the jury's out on whether there's some kind of reversal or not. But at least the first dip was bought. That's the key takeaway. Anyway, let's talk about the stocks that led the market lower today. It was mainly financials. HDFC was down 2%, ICICI down 2%, SBI down 1.5%. Curiously, Infosys was down 2% today, while TCS was up almost the same amount, which is very interesting. So some bit of reversal happening in the market, perhaps after the recent. Look at that. That normally doesn't happen. 4% divergence on the same day in the two IT bigwigs. Reliance was down about 1% on the way up. TCS, of course, was the one that led the move. Tata Motors been a stunning move on Tata Motors. It's rallied 41% now from its 52-week low that was hit earlier in this series. 42% from that day's low is what you have on Tata Motors. Apart from that, Access, Yes Bank perhaps a decent day, you'll have to say.
All right, on the mid-cap screen, the index optically looks, of course, much better than the Nifty or the Sensex because the mid-cap index is down just 0.1%. Advanced declines were negative, so that'll give you a fairer picture. You had about 740 stocks advancing, but almost 1,400 stocks on the declining side. So yes, it was a weak day in terms of the market breadth. Anyway, let me start with some of the winners first. Adani Power obviously was a stunner move of the afternoon. Last couple of minutes of trade, suddenly the stock shoots higher. And a lone ranger, look at Adani Enterprises or Adani Entertainment, Adani Enterprises or Adani Transmission. None of these stocks managed this kind of a big reversal. In fact, transmission was down 6-7% throughout the session today. Anyway, talking about some more movers and shakers, Kaveri Seeds 4% up, Cummins 4% higher. We had some gains on Reliance Capital today. Shriram Transport Finance, Sundaram Finance, these were some of the NBFC names where there was buying traction that was quite evident. Divi's Lab was on the upside of the screen as well. Now I come to the downside, HDIL, because of that ratings cut that has finally been announced. So 5% down on that stock. Some of the sugar stocks were undoing yesterday's rally. So Renuka, Praj, let's pull up Balrampur and Dhampur and see final rates on those stocks as well. I mean, yesterday was a big move on these sugar names. And today was a day of profit taking on almost the entire universe. Then we've got the likes of Rain Industries, again down about 3.5%. Gati was down about 3% as well. So these were the pockets where there was some pressure. That was quite evident. Jet Airways has lost 2.5%. Some of the banks like Union Bank, Karnataka Bank, even OBC. So banks in general, Canara Bank, 2% on the lower side. Banks didn't really have a great day today when it comes to the names beyond the Nifty 50. All right, let's just wrap it down then with the experts. Ashwini, now where does this leave us? Assuming that this whole Pakistan strike news is out of the picture, we don't hear any more headlines, then how do we approach trade tomorrow?
We stay in the same range. Basically, now you are building a narrower range at 10,700 to about 10,900, which is today's range. I think trying to work on either side will be helpful because 10,900 is also proven to be a strong resistance. I don't think you can say that there is a big uptrend or a downtrend. I think it could be time for a bit of sideways. One interesting thing, while we all get very worked up when there are strikes and this and that, but if every time the script is the same, that they deny it, we say we did it, then these exaggerated reactions will stop happening. Earlier you had one bomb blast and markets used to dip. So be very careful that this is becoming very expected. So next time around you may not get this sort of exaggerated reaction. That should be kept in mind.
Fair enough. Abhimanyu, any stocks on your radar, any fresh ideas you'd like to leave us with?
So I think something like a Bharat Forge could be an interesting one to look at. In terms of multiple, it is trading at around 15x. Around 1,000 crore of business comes from the non-auto segment. And going forward, I think so, despite, the slowdown that we are seeing in the US truck sales, I think so the domestic business, we hope, because of the BS norms, some improvement happening over next couple of quarters. So that stock looks quite interesting to us. Maybe there will be an increase in the defense spending as well, for which Bharat Forge could be a direct beneficiary.
All right, fair enough. Gentlemen, we'll leave it on that note for today. Thank you very much for being with us and taking us through market close.